Wow, how cool is that? How's it going, everyone? It's Marshall. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, it's super late, so I probably look like a freaking zombie. I apologize, but I have been so excited working on the D-05 here this evening. All evening. It is literally 2:30 in the morning. I am exhausted, and I wanted to talk to you about my first custom patch called Mosey On Mack. Why did I name it that? I don't know, because it kind of reminded me of like a hooves on a horse with a cowboy on the horse riding down the moseying down the trail, I guess. So yeah, don't ask me, it's late, and that's kind of what I came up with. So the D-05 is basically the modern version of the D-50. The D-50 was an extremely popular synthesizer in the late 1980s. And Roland has done a solid for all of us D50 fans and brought it back in the new boutique style, which I think fits this synthesizer perfectly. Out of all the boutiques, this is probably one of the best implementations of what it's supposed to be out of all of them. And probably the main reason for that is the D50 originally didn't have any freaking knobs on it. It was all buttons. And then your little scrolly thing there. But let's talk about this patch. So I've had a lot of people asking me about, how do you program one of these, and I should do a video on that. And so basically I'm going to kind of go through some of the basics here today. And then this Sunday during the live stream, I live stream every Sunday evening. I'll do a live stream going through this, and we'll create a patch together on the live stream from scratch, and that'll be fun. Maybe we'll get something cool. Maybe we'll get something awful, but I think it's going to be a good time. So first thing when you're working with a synthesizer like this, guys, is to RTFM, and that means read the fucking manual. So go to Roland's website. Make sure you download the parameter guide. This is your D-05 Bible. I have read this entire thing here this evening. And I know a lot of you are like, oh, it's a manual. I don't want to have to read the manual. But if you want to really dig into what the D50 or the D-05 in this case is really capable of, the menu or the manual is your best friend. So take the time, read it. It's understandable. It's written very well, although parts are a little confusing because things are kind of named similarly, those types of things. But you guys can get through it. I can get through it. You guys can definitely get through it because a lot of you are probably smarter than me anyways. But let's take a look. So how do you get in and edit a sound, Marshall? Well, the first thing is while you're on a preset or initialization patch, just come over here, hit the edit button, and we're in the edit menu. Well, rocket science, right? Well, it can be. Over here is tune, which we're not going to touch. Then we've got the patch edit menu. Now this is where you would set like the name of the of the patch, and some of your other basic controls like pitch bend, portamento, etc. Chase settings are in here, MIDI. One thing to just keep in mind here, guys, this threw me for a bit of a loop when I first started looking at this, is if you go into a menu, say now we're in the patch edit menu, and you start scrolling through this, let's go into the patch name. You start scrolling through this, you can see we were in the name, and all of a sudden we're in the control menu, the control edit menu. If we keep scrolling again, we're in the output mode menu. Keep scrolling again, we're in the chase menu. Scroll again, we're in the MIDI menu. So basically, all these menus where if you go up a level, you can get to them individually, they do not stop you when you're out of options for that menu. It literally goes to the next one in line and wraps all around. So it's really easy to get stuck in an area where you think that you're where you're supposed to be, but you've maybe hit the button too many times, and all of a sudden you're in a different parameter than what you were initially intending to be in. So just be mindful of that when you're working with this, because that caused me some headaches. All right, so how do we actually get in and adjust the sound? So if we back out everything, we hit edit, we're on the edit menu page. You've got the left or right arrow button. You can press either one, and you'll see here we've got the lower tone and the upper tone. And within each tone are our partials, which are down here. And this is where you can select 2 for the upper, 2 for the lower. So, and this was, I always kind of thought this was kind of backwards. I always thought that the upper should be here and the lower should be here, but I guess technically the way you would read this, that would be further to the left, which would be lower. Anyway, I always kind of thought this feels kind of backwards to me, but it's not the end of the world. So in this particular patch, I'm using 2 partials from the lower tone and 1 partial from the upper tone. So let's take a look at the upper tone. So we'll turn those off. Let's select upper tone. And here you can actually name the tones if you like. I did not do that in this case. Again, you've got common parameters for the specific tone. And here's the first place you're going to want to start is with the structure. And if we hop back over to our parameter guide, we can see here the different types of structures which are available on page 8. This is kind of, like I said, this is your starting point. You're going to need to decide whether or not you want the tone to utilize PCM samples or synth waveforms. So structure 1, which is what we're using in this particular part of the track, is using structure 1. So that is synthesis plus synthesis, nothing special. So basically, the waveforms you have available in this structure are sawtooth and square. That's it. If we were to select structure 2, you can see we got synthesis plus synthesis and a ring mod. Option 3, we've got P for PCM, S for synthesis, 4 P and S with a ring mod, 5 P and S, S and P with a ring mod. Sorry, those are just the opposite way. 6 is 2 PCM samples, and then 7 up here at the top is 2 PCM samples and a ring mod. In a partridge in a pear tree. Yeah. So those are your different structures. First thing you're gonna want to do is figure out, well, I want to have synthesis or PCM, whatever. And based on that chart that I just showed you, that's where you need to start with. All right, so from there in this menu, you don't necessarily have to really kind of do anything else right away. But if we did want to kind of go in here, the P envelope is kind of your, it's like your main envelope for the tone. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. It's the pitch envelope. So I apologize for that. And in here, we would set our envelope amounts, which this, I'll get to this in a second, and what these T's and L's mean and everything. Your lever. This is important because if you want to assign pitch mod to your mod wheel, you need to use this. I said lever, but I guess lever. It doesn't say like mod wheel or anything like that, but that's what that is. You set that up to 100%. You can get it that way, or you can set it to the aftertouch, which is kind of nice. Your LFO rate you can set here. I think, I'm not sure how many different waveforms you have. I think you've got 3 or 4. Yeah, so you've got triangle, sawtooth, and square, and then random. You can set your rates, delay on the LFO, and sync. You can enable sync. And then there's a couple different LFOs. I think there's 3 total. Then an EQ, which you can see here, I've cut a little bit of the low end out. Not a big deal. In the chorus. So I think there's 8 different types of chorus in here. I've got the rate on this one set to that. Depth 15, balance is kind of your wet, dry value. And yeah, so let's back out of here. And now when we're in our upper tone menu, if we scroll to the left, sorry, to the right, we've got our parts, our partials. So partial 1 is going to be the one that we are working with. So we want to select that one. And in here you can check out your pitch. You can change, you can do some fine-tuned pitch control, or based on a specific key, which is really actually convenient. Here's the form menu, and here you've got, this is where for the synthesis portion we'll set our waveform to either square or sawtooth. And one interesting thing is you can actually use the little joystick here to change parameters if you like. I find that most useful when, say, for example, scrolling through PCM samples, and there's 100 of them on here. And so it's a way to get really deep into that menu without having to click your increment or decrement buttons a whole bunch of times. But for something like this, you know, 2 buttons, you know, basically 2 options, so it's not like a huge deal for this. But anyway, I just want to let you know you can use this joystick to make selections, which is pretty freaking neat, actually. Yeah, so let's see. Let me go back into the forms here. So in this menu, if you hit over, you can see here we do see our PCM options as well. Now, because of the structure type that we have selected, we can pick whatever we want in here. And here's a good example of using this joystick. And it wouldn't matter because you won't be able to hear it unless you change the structure to a format where PCM is being utilized for this first partial in the upper tone. So then we have our time variant filter, time variant amplifier. And let me just talk about these real quick. And I'm just going through the manual to find a picture of what this is to where it's hopefully a little bit more understandable. Still looking. Sorry guys, there's a lot in here. And we'll go to, let's go here. So I hope you can see this. I'll try and make it maybe a little bigger, but basically your Tva envelope, let's go in here. Actually, that's not even the Tva envelope, but it's kind of the same process where you have a T value, which is the distance from when the key is pushed to this first initial point, and then you have an L value here, which is the overall output level. So you've got time and basically volume or level. So this is the amount of time between here to here, and then this is the level. And as time progresses, you could see we would get an attack this way. So T2, similar process, just, yeah, you know, you can effectively make some time here, and in this particular example, they're dropping the level. And I mean, this is basically your ADSR, but you have a couple of different time options in here, which is nice because that extends your amount of control. So this goes on for obviously several parameters. Then you've got your sustain at 0.4, and then T5 is your release, and that is after you release the key. So I like this. The only problem with a method like this is instead of having attack, decay, sustain, release, and that's it, and then maybe having 2 different envelopes, one for your amplifier, one for your filter, you have basically 9 different parameters that you have to enter for each instead of just attack, decay, sustain, release. So 4. So you're literally doubling it plus 1 with the amount of options that you have to input. And that is a pain, but it's doable. It's just a little cumbersome. And once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. So in this particular patch, we can see that when we play this, you hear how we have it we get the initial stabby part, and then it kind of drops down and then swells up again. Yeah, and then we have a little bit of pitch modulation going on with the mod wheel, which is nice. So let's see, what else can I talk about in here? This is your bias point, and you can do some specific things with that in terms of, I think, level amounts and some other stuff. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but that's something that I will explore at a later time. So yeah, bias point and bias level. Lowers values make the curve steeper. Lower values make the curve steeper. Anyway, yeah. That's all in the manual here on page, whatever page this is, 15. You can see we've got the bias level, bias point, your velocity, range, level, and this is your time variant amplifier. This is actually what I was looking for initially. But anyway, yeah, cool. So also your LFO selections, you can make those positive or negative. You can see in doing so which direction the waveform would actually start. It's just basically an inverted phase from one to the other, and that's fine. So you have like a ramp up versus a ramp down, basically. And I apologize, I'm losing track of what I'm doing here. So that was our first partial. Now the other partial, if we were to enable that, it's just the default. Well, we got some reverb on there and stuff, but it's just a square wave. But we're not using that, so we'll shut that off. Let's go over to our other two now. We just back out a little bit. We're in the edit menu. Let's go to the lower tone menu. And in here again, we've got the same exact options that we had in the other one. So let's actually let's go back into the comment. Let's look at the structure for this. So for this tone, I'm using structure 7, which, if we remember, was PCM samples for both of the partials plus a ring modulator. So LFO, I don't think I'm using the LFO in this for anything. So yeah, let's back out. EQ, definitely cut some low end out of here. And cool. So let's back out again. Let's go into our partials. So let's check out partial number 1, which is here. And let's check out our pitch. Okay, so we're not changing anything here. Let's check out our forms. So while you again have access to the waveform because of the structure for the waveform for the synth engine, because of the structure that is selected, which is number 7, we only have access to the PCM sounds on this particular tone. So in this case, I'm using PCM sample 54. And again, here's where this parameter guide is a frickin' godsend. If we scroll down here, we can see Roland have been kind enough to include us a full list of every one of these one-shot PCM samples or loops. So in this case, we're actually using a loop. It's the harpsichord loop, number 54 here. So that's what we're using. So what does that sound like, Marshall? Well, shut up and play it, all right? Well, here we go. Let's play it. Pretty cool, yeah? So we can still hear a little bit of the reverb, and that's fine. But I'm not doing any modulating or anything like that on this particular sound. So we're pretty much done with that one. So let's check out the other one. We'll back out and go into partial 2 and check out the pitch. Doing a little bit of fine tuning on this PCM. And let's go here to form over again. So we're doing PCM sample 15, which on here says pick. If we go over here, it says PCM 15 is pick, and pick it is. Its name is pick, and yeah, the indication is pick as well. So we got pick in the house. So I picked the pick, and there's some funny things you could probably say about that, but that's nothing special. So let's play that one. And you can probably barely hear it It's just a little bit of a tick or a pick. Oh, that's cheesy. So that's it. So now if we go ahead and play all these three partials together, we get our original sound that your buddy Marshall made in about, I don't know, about an hour or so. And this is it. And you're probably tired of hearing that melody, but that's what I decided to play for this. So lots of other features in here, guys. I'm not even really scratching the surface. This is just probably enough to get you to where you could get some sounds. Oh, time variable filter. When you first go in here, it's going to be set at 60. So originally, when you come in here and you check your filter settings, you're going to be at 60, which is going to give things kind of a dull sound. So I had definitely gone in here and brightened up these samples. Yeah. So again, Sunday we're going to be doing some more live patch creation with my awesome chat room on YouTube, and that'll be a lot of fun. So if you're interested, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon. You'll get notified of when I go live. I try and go live around, between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m., somewhere like that, in the Mountain Time Zone. So GMT -7 for all of you folks in Europe or the UK. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. I know this wasn't the most comprehensive thing, but again, best thing I can advise for you to do is get the parameter guide, spend some time with your D-05s, and just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun actually going through here. And it wouldn't seem like it. It's all that cool. Oh man, I got to read this freaking manual. No, the manual is your guide, and that's why, for example, it's called the parameter guide, because as you go through, you're going to have questions, and you reference this guide to figure it out. So, anyway, I'm not trying to lecture anyone. I'm just saying, use your manuals. They're helpful. So I probably look like a zombie. I am super tired. I apologize for my appearance, but I need to go to bed now, everyone, and I'm going to do that. So if you like the video, please hit the like button. It helps out a bunch, and I appreciate you all being here and checking out the video. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm Marshall, and I'll talk to you later. And I'm not sure why I'm shaking my head like this, but I'm going to do it until I hit the buy button, which I can't do actually while I do that, but there we go. All right, see you guys.